but I needed to wait until I felt like I had something to say. And then I realized I would never feel like I had something to say, so I should just schedule something and see what happens. So what came out of that was just a hopefully quick talk here about my journey from not being a software developer through the Tech Academy and now being a software developer. I was just going to chat through that process, and then last night I realized, no, people do talks with PowerPoint presentations, so I should probably have one of those. So this came together fairly quickly, and it's a little bit of a rough draft. I'm not trying to talk it down too much ahead of time, but I appreciate the opportunity to get back into the public speaking thing. I haven't done this in a long time. I'm actually really nervous right now, but I appreciate the opportunity. And hopefully, there's a little bit of grace for some of the rough edges that we're no doubt going to hit. So I'm just gonna go, and then we'll do questions and stuff at the end, which is probably, hopefully, going to be the most valuable portion if I can answer it anyway. So a little bit about me. I'm 40. I'm a former teacher. I own a coffee shop. I didn't vet any of the font sizes on this at all for a presentation size, so hopefully you can read these. I was a commercial photographer. I've been a lot of places, and I tend to get distracted, so I've been moving around. Actually, that was one of the things prior to taking my last position. My final interview had most to do with that element of it than anything else, and we can talk about that a little bit later. I've been married for a little under 18 years. I don't have a cute picture of a wife, sorry. I also have 3 kids, almost all of whom are teenagers. So yeah. I just bring that up for some context, just who I am. I don't know where you are in life. I imagine some of you are maybe sort of similar position to me, some younger, some older. But 2 years ago, I kind of woke up and realized life didn't look like I expected it to look like. I had a lot of pieces that I expected. I was married, I had kids, I had lots of responsibilities, but I didn't have the other pieces that were going to make the back half of life sort of smooth sailing. I was a photographer, and if I was single and wanted to eat ramen all the time, like I could have made it as a photographer, it was enough. But I woke up one morning and thought, oh, I got to feed kids, and probably I'm more than ramen, and I can't do that as a photographer. And I was this was just 2 years ago. I was 38. I had 1 teenager at the time, anyway, flash forward 2 years. I've been a software developer now for just under 2 years. I'm still at the very beginning of my career. I still have all these responsibilities, and I'm also, it's like I'm 25, 2 years into my first career for all intents and purposes. And so it's a little bit of a weird situation to be in, or unexpected, I should say. But I will tell you this: that I have never been more satisfied professionally. I taught for 7 years. I owned 2 different businesses. Had all the freedom that comes from running your own business. Coffee, a couple of different passion projects, coffee, photography, and I've never felt more in the zone than I do right now. So let me check my notes. So mainly what I wanted to do out of this talk is I don't know what it's like for you. I had a lot of questions. I had a lot of doubts when I was in the program. I had a lot of hopes, but I wasn't sure, if I really could hack it. If the people that were coming back to talk were really sort of anomalies, or what were my chances? And I really just wanted to come and talk and say that this is a great field with great problems to solve, great people working in it, working in the field for you to work with, and you can absolutely break in and have a long career doing the things you're doing right now. Like, you're doing the things. You're in the right place, and this will lead to great things for you. So you gotta leave early. That's the big point. Be encouraged. Okay. All right. So my journey. What comes next? So I guess we're gonna break this down into before at Tech Academy, after Tech Academy. Stop Jesus. BC. Okay. VTA and ATA. I'm also wanting to finish up by telling you what I think are the two most important pieces of the puzzle in terms of getting out there and getting your first job, or really subsequent jobs, I would imagine. All right, but that's the secret. Actually, well, we'll talk about it at the end. So, for the Tech Academy, like I mentioned, I was a teacher for 7 years of math and science. Went to Stanford College. I got a physics degree. Didn't know what to do with it. Somebody said, "Hey, come teach at this little private school." And I'm like, "No, whatever." And that's kind of like how the first 15 years of my life was like, "Yeah, whatever." Which is why I needed to go back to school 2 years ago. And we went and taught math and science at a small private school in Denver. And there were some rewarding things about that, but ultimately it was really stressful. It just wasn't a good fit that could go long term. So, sort of capriciously walked away from that, started a coffee business again out in Denver, and that lasted about a year. So then we closed that coffee business and moved back in. Well, you know what we'll do? We'll say rebranded. I rebranded as a photographer. My offices were located in familiar settings, we'll just say. Anyway, we're really grateful to have that opportunity to be able to move back in and pursue another passion and make it go at being a commercial photographer. Which I thought, if you look at the meetup, like, what says software developer more than a gray suit, wool tie, and carrots, right? Like, I just love that was on the meetup as my photo. Should probably update that. All right. So 5 years later, started a photography business. Pushed pretty hard at that. 5 years later, I grossed $18,000 after expenses. No, I'm sorry, netted. I should say netted. Vocabulary is hard sometimes. I netted $18,000 after expenses. Like I said, it was a family of five. The only reason we were still alive was because of my mother. So I started praying, like, literally. I woke up actually one morning and realized like it was over. I had pushed as hard as I could in the photography thing. There was no way to make the push from 18 to 80 before my kids were old enough to move out of the house. And I thought, well, I have to restart. I'm not sure how. So I actually did. I prayed for guidance. That's who I am. It's one of the things I do. And flipped open my computer, and the first thing that popped up was a note, a news article about how the president had launched a tech hire initiative to fund alternative education measures and whatnot. And I was like, what's a tech academy? I didn't even know what we were talking about. What's a tech academy? What kind of jobs are we talking about here? And the first, of course, Tech Academy is very nicely named. If people are going to start searching for Tech Academy, Tech Academy popped up. I looked at Tech Academy and found out, programming. And I had a little bit of connection with programming from college. I had to take one programming course. And I remembered, oh yeah, I loved that course. If only I had been more self-aware and just shifted 20 years ago, I would be in a little bit different spot. But rather than get down about that, I reached out and I ended up coming to the Tech Academy. So thanks, Obama, right? Unironically, sort of. Anyway, that was the path. So I researched a few different, as you probably did, coding boot camps, and the reason that I wanted to come to the Tech Academy, one of the more intriguing reasons was sort of the breadth of material that we get here. We're able to look at multiple technologies. I mean, there's even like a DevOps course, which or at least it was. I haven't looked at the curriculum recently. I assume it's still part of the curriculum. There's a real breadth there, and I want to make sure I have the broadest foundation for a long-lasting career in tech. So I joined the Tech Academy. And what followed was a roller coaster of emotions over the next 4 months. I started, and after I got through the first course, and was coding on a daily basis, I was really excited. I was thinking, oh my gosh, like I could imagine doing this for the bulk of my day for many years to come, and that was really awesome. But then I'm also feeling a lot of doubt alternately, saying, I'm going through this stuff so fast. Am I actually building the depth of knowledge that I need to be effective in a career? Then I hit PHP, and I was just like, oh god, it's the worst. I don't know. If you like PHP, that's awesome. I haven't touched it since being here, and I hope that remains the case. It was just not one of those things I connected with, and then it was JavaScript and C#, and I fell in love again, and it was just a blast every day. And then there's fear, like, what if there are only PHP jobs? I don't think I'll be able to handle that. And then we would have people come in and do tech talks, and CFOs and CTOs coming in. I guess not CFOs, but Danny did a great job bringing really relevant people in to talk about how they're hiring people from the Tech Academy, giving us great advice. So that built up a certain level of hope. And then the fear and despair of having to do interviews, and I mean, like, I was just a nervous wreck, up and down, up and down. And then I am in an interview and thinking, I don't know anything. Like, this is a total sham. Like, I've been there for 3.5 months. I barely know anything. And then holy shit, I have a job. Like, it was how did this happen? I felt like I was conning everybody. I wasn't. I want to come back to that later. I'm glad I did, and I would. I don't have it as a recommended point here, but I was very upfront with how uncomfortable I was, what I did know, what I didn't know, and I did not present a false front. I was just very honest, and what's awesome is that that you're not expected to know everything. Like, the market is open, they're hungry for good people, and if they find somebody that they can work with and is willing to learn, you're very marketable if you are that kind of person. And I'm that kind of person. I expressed that I was willing to learn. I had a desire for for learning, and anyway, that ended up giving me a job. So that was the overview of my Tech Academy experience, and wanted to go a little bit deeper on some of the points. We talked about the breadth of the curriculum. I remember looking at a few different academies before choosing the Tech Academy, and some of them out there are kind of limited to a very narrow stack. Like, we're going to talk JavaScript, right? And that's all we're going to do. And I remember thinking that was not for me, and it wasn't for me. And I'm glad I came to Tech Academy. I will say though that having a deep portfolio in one technology is a great thing to have. So you go pretty deep here, .NET, C#. Really, the SQL and the C# experience I got here are what laid the foundation for the jobs that I've had. But as you're out there looking for jobs, and if it takes a little bit longer, if you've identified what you most want to work in, the stuff that is the most fun for you, like, even if it's not part of the curriculum here, in addition to the curriculum, go deep with personal projects in that stack. If you really like JavaScript, and you've got the one class and then the advanced class here, and you want to keep going deeper, if that's the job you want, go build the portfolio to get you that job. And you might end up taking another job in the meantime while you build that up. But having that deep, not just broad, but one area of really deep exposure to get a specific job, that's not a bad idea. Have you guys started? I guess where are you guys in the program? Are we all over the place and people just started?
All over the place.
All over the place. Are you fairly deep? Is anybody like sending out resumes and whatnot, doing that? Are you sending out 50 a day? Is that still a requirement, Danny? No? Okay. Danny and I had one intense conversation about the expectations in terms of number of resumes that were sent out.
We had to send out 100 resumes in a day.
Yeah, right. But you realize there aren't that many like postings out there. I would be doubling up, tripling up. Anyway, but have you been getting calls from recruiters? Anybody? Has that happened yet? No? So if you put up your resume on like Dice, basically if you follow the curriculum and do what they tell you to do, you will probably start getting calls from recruiters. I didn't end up getting my first job through a recruiter, but it was a pretty valuable experience to partner with a few of them. I had a friend who's a recruiter recommend. If you have the opportunity to, if they're contacting you, go ahead and develop a relationship with 3 or 4. Perhaps one from a really small boutique placement agency, one from a mid-level that services mid-level companies, and then maybe one that hits the Nikes and things of that nature. Even if it doesn't lead to a job, the good ones will be able to give you some pretty decent feedback about how your resume looks. If you do get an interview through one of them, they'll be able to tell you, hey, here was the feedback from the employer, and you can kind of fold that into your process. So that started happening with me about really right after I started doing the resume and posting on Dice and doing that portion of the program. So they can be valuable. On the flip side, if you're contacted by a corporate recruiter who's actually with a company, like, no limit to pursuing those conversations because they're pretty serious about getting you into at that position in their company. We think we already mentioned resumes, putting on Dice. The resumes freak me out. I'm awful at trying to package things together and sell myself. It's good to reach out and get some external feedback there. Mine's not great. I'll put my email address up at the end. If you like me, I like looking at other people's resumes to get an idea of how I might be able to package mine to be reasonably attractive. I'm happy to send you one that I used here if that's of interest to you. I'll just hit me up on email. Interviews are a huge deal, and I know we have role playing here as part of the job placement part of the program. Very important to get comfortable with the interview. To communicate a couple of things specifically, which we will talk about a little bit later. But definitely it doesn't hurt to practice those. So yeah, I guess my points on that, and realize have these sort of do as many as you can. Fake one, role play ones here. Take phone interviews whenever you can, even if you have if people are like, no, I'm not going to be qualified for this position. If they're willing to talk to you, like, do it. And then as it becomes apparent that maybe you're not a great fit, you can still say, hey, would love 30 seconds of your time just to give us some feedback on how the interview process went. What would you recommend I emphasize? Things like that. People are generally pretty nice and helpful if you ask. So I think that's a good point. And then I'll also say a big part of getting my first job were the relationships I had here at the Tech Academy with other students. One of the guys that I did the live project with was a reference on the resume. He was called, I think he's been called in all 3 jobs that I've gotten and given me a great recommendation. A truthful one, like, from his experience of what kind of problem solver I was, whether or not I was easy to work with, willing to be flexible, willing to learn. He knew those things firsthand, and he's provided a great reference for me. So don't develop in a box. You guys can really benefit one another. All right, so after Tech Academy. So I like I said, rough around the edges. I apologize if this is not particularly relevant, but this is my journey. That's what we decided to call this talk, so this is what we're talking about. My first job, we will leave names except for my current one off, because there's some interesting things to be said about each of the places. But I just wanted to give this, because I've worked in 3 really different environments. And I guess, I don't know, it was sort of surprising to me leaving the Tech Academy, realizing like how broad set of experiences are out there to be had. There are great companies to work for, and there are companies that are not great to work for. for a variety of reasons. We'll talk more about that here in a minute. But my first company, there were 4 developers on the team. There were probably 25, 30 people total. 3 of us did any work on the dev team. And that, that was kind of an interesting experience to show up into a small crew and have one person who's just dead weight. And the challenges interpersonally that presented. And the soft skills, that you can get help with here in dealing with those kinds of situations. Being able to communicate, be respectful, maintain relationships with everyone so that you don't get dragged into the negativity or ostracized by one group or the other. Those are important things. This was eye-opening. I had no idea if I'm actually going to be able to get a job that somebody calls and say, well, we will pay you $45,000 to work with us. Yes, absolutely. I didn't even ask, when we were in the interview process, what exactly do you do here? I didn't know. I didn't care. I was going to be able to program. And then I got there and I realized, oh crap, we're going to be out of business in 6 months because this product is awful. It was a company that had made its money off of really old. They managed. They wrote software that you see in hotels. When you went down to the business center and you wanted to use a computer because you didn't have a laptop or a phone or anything, and you had to rent time at a computer terminal in a hotel. This was a year and a half ago that I got a job at a company that still managed those things. Most of their business was overseas in third world countries, and that was what was feeding the company. And they realized they needed to develop a new product. And what they were super excited about was basically the Google Chrome homepage that was tiled bookmarks. That was it. That was what they were building. It was bookmarking app, and it didn't even look very good. So that was an interesting experience to walk into. And by the way, they were out of business in 8 months. They sold off the portion that made any money to a competitor in the hotel space, and we had to find other jobs. Fortunately, we found out about it ahead of time, and they were nice enough to let us do a job search on the remaining company time. So I walked out of one job and walked right into the next company. Totally different situation. 15 developers, a little bit bigger company, bigger dev team for sure. 15 developers, very targeted product. Buggy as all get out. Customers hated us. That's another really interesting experience to be like. I realized, that's something I don't like. I don't like being hated for what I produce, right? I didn't really know that until I worked here, and we made it was a valuable product, but it had problems because of the environment that it was developed in. Push, very, very quick, and things weren't very stable. And about that environment, it was incredibly hostile. There were people who routinely threw their computer equipment around the room, yelled at you, made it very difficult to ask questions, because you're always interrupting them. It was just high stress. It was a real pressure cooker, and not a great experience overall. Except for the development experience. I'll come back to this again later. There's a bunch of jobs out there that suck. Every single one of them is valuable in terms of the beginning of your development career. And you can do anything for 6 months. I did this for almost exactly 6 months and needed to get out because I was conforming to the environment a little bit. I was adapting a little too well. I was starting to become, I dare say, less employable by sticking around and developing some of those habits. And so I'll probably warn against that a little bit later. So I was there for 6 months. And now I'm with the Home Depot Quote Center. Which, by the way, they sent me with some kind of cheap swag. But swag, have a water bottle on the Quote Center. And pens, which there's a little button like you would think it's a button to do your pen, except for oh no, it didn't work. It's a flashlight. It was a flashlight. Oh no, you got to take the yellow. It's freaking blinding, is what it is. Yeah, so I was like, oh, I like this. Ah! It was super. All right, anyway, so have a pen, don't blind yourself. I'm a quote center. So how did I get here? So it's a much bigger team. And I will tell you, like, this is, I can see myself staying here for the rest of my career. I love it. And the companies like this actually do exist. And I really feel blessed to have found my way among the number. I checked. In case you're wondering, they're not really pursuing juniors right now, but they do. It might be a little late in the game, but as far as Tech Academy goes, they're pretty big on internships. So depending on whether they're looking to onboard an intern, they pay pretty well for internships. Like when I was a photographer, somebody told me I could intern for $18 an hour. I'm like, yes, that's way more than I make right now. And then they frequently hire their interns. Don't be afraid for a good reputable company where you've gone and you've sussed out the environment. It seems like a place you want to work. If they pay decently for an internship and it's enough for you to kind of get by, it's a great way to develop those relationships and slide into a full-time position when you're done with the internship. It's an option. Our customers love us. Our customers are Home Depot employees who make an internal web app that is unifying the Home Depot universe of products. They buy a lot of companies. They've got all these different catalogs of products. We bring it all together and make it available through one portal for sales associates in the store. We target pros in particular. I don't know if that's interesting or not. Oh my gosh. Like the biggest thing about being there is I'm finally in a position where there's time to talk with more experienced developers about the right way to do things. Like I walked out of Tech Academy, I got a job, I can solve problems, but I don't have that guidance for knowing the right way to solve a problem or some of the better ways as opposed to, the way I figured out how to solve a problem. And what was frustrating in those first two jobs is there wasn't a lot of time to engage with more senior developers about the right way to do things. And I'm happy to say that I have that opportunity now. I've got a great team of people that I'm working with. Okay, so I'm going to cruise through because I'm sure this is running longer than I anticipated. So anyway, things I've learned from three companies. Bad companies are a thing, and bad environments, they're a thing. You don't run into them. But every position is a position that you can learn in or learn from. So take that opportunity. I'm not saying, grab that first job that you know is going to suck just because it's a job. There actually will be other opportunities. Just know yourself well enough, and it's not going to be a good fit. Hang on for something that's at least in the ballpark that you can deal with. But if you find yourself in a little bit uncomfortable position, glean as much as you can. Treat everybody with respect. Develop what relationships you can, and that will aid you going forward. Yep. Yeah, I feel like I'm repeating myself here at some of the rough edges. And that whole earnings thing, I just wasn't sure. I tend to self-doubt, right? So, like I'm grateful to be making $45,000 a year when I get Tech Academy. And I would hear people, 6 months in, and people were telling me, you're underpaid, and I'm like, shh, nah. But the reality is, your experience is worth money. The more you have, the more you are worth. Sometimes, in order to achieve that bump, you do have to change companies. So one of the things that we had a tech talk here where the CTO of Genesis Financial came out. I don't know if he's been around lately, Stephen Carnegie, but he told us, he's like, you guys are worth 60 coming out of the Tech Academy, and after 1 year you should be making 70, and after another year you should be making 80. And then your growth will slow down. I thought, that seems unreasonable. But it's not. If you are somebody who can get along with other people, you can work well with the team, you can solve problems, demonstrate that you're in it for the long haul. You're not just going to bail after a couple of months for the next thing. You really can command a good salary out there. don't know if that's important to anybody, but it was me. I've been fairly surprised at my progression, and I'm very pleased with that progression. And then, the bad companies are a thing, but so are great companies. Like, there are really good environments out there to work for. So if you get discouraged about a particular one, just know, hang in there, do your time, learn your stuff, build your skills, and you're learning about yourself and what's important to you. I didn't realize that, like, some little bit of management is actually good for me. Like, having someone who cares about the cohesiveness of a team. Instead of it just being the Wild West and nobody really helping things move forward. I realized that was something I learned about myself that I wouldn't have if I hadn't worked in a managementless set of companies first. And I think I already said, no one expects to know everything, and almost everyone is willing to help. And if you find yourself in an office, every one time, like, you might consider failing after a month as if just everyone's a jerk in your office, because it's just not the norm. Like, even the places that were really difficult, they were still filled with really good people who were really generous with their time. If you would ask. So reach out and know that you're not expected to know everything from the beginning. I think it said it, know you, be you. I remember preparing for interviews, and there's a lot of advice out there on YouTube, and I remember some of it seemed really valuable, and some of it was like, I could say that, and that would be an amazing answer, or it would sound like an amazing answer, but it's totally not me, and now I'm on the hook for a lie, or a persona that's not really true to myself and if they hire me because of that, oh, I'm screwed, because now I have to put on this show for the rest of my tenure here at this company. And I was just like, against that. Know who you are, be who you are, be authentic, because ultimately I think that's what people are looking for. We'll come back around to that in a second. And sometimes it takes a couple of jobs to figure out exactly professionally who you are, what you're looking for, and how to communicate that. But really, that is the value of the interview, is communicating who you are authentically and truthfully, and letting them decide if they think that truth of who you are is a good fit for their company. But it's on you as well. Like, you get to decide if it's a good fit. So use the interview process to find out more about the company, find out more about the environment. Obviously, after the first couple of jobs, you're in a little bit better position to pick and choose, right? The first one, you cast a really wide net. But use the time to figure out, what am I getting into? Is this going to be a good long-term fit? And ask those probing questions that draw that out. Biggest thing, never stop learning, and showing a desire for learning, always willing to develop yourself, as a general piece of advice I'm going to give. And as we already talked about, like, doing your personal projects, developing a stack of projects in the technology you want to work in, and then using that to either transfer within your company if they have a different division that you want to get into, or move on to another job. And it's just good life advice, right? Like, treat people with respect, it'll come back in good ways. There's some dorks and some jerks, and well, not a lot of jerks in my current office, but it never hurts to be on good terms with as many people as you can be. So, I wanted to end with what I think are the two most important, the two biggest keys to getting your first job. And it turns out it's not really, I don't think, a matter of technical ability or knowledge so much. You don't have to be a great, to be scared to death of whiteboarding interview questions. No? If not? Okay. I am. I've done it a few times, and it's not the worst. It's great. You'll be fine. But it's definitely nerve-wracking. You don't need to study sorting algorithms or even be able to name the different kinds of sorting algorithms. It's really not a technical reality. Those things are good. Like, of course, those are good. But I don't think they're the most important. I think the most important things are, and I'm going to, give these in maybe Yeah, I guess I would say reverse order. So number 2 is demonstrate, have a demonstrated desire and ability to learn. You want to demonstrate those facts, and you do that in 2 ways. One, you come to the Tech Academy, right? By being here, you're demonstrating a desire and ability to learn by finishing the program. You're also doing that in the interview process. You're communicating that about yourself. So finding ways of getting that out there, that you don't know everything, but you want to know everything, if that was even possible, like you just want to eat it up, you want to work with people to learn those things. I think that's what employers that are open to hiring juniors are looking for. Okay, it's a little bit of a hard position to put yourself in, depending on your experience level and other things. It could be a little bit humbling to say, "Hey, I'm not in a position where I know everything, but I'm going to be receptive, and I'm going to work with you guys to learn as much as I can from you." That's one of the most important things. Another one is, don't be a dick. Like, those are the 2 ways to get those are 2 important factors of getting a job. Be open to learning and be nice. People want to work with people who are good to work with. If you are hard to handle, you're snooty, you talk behind people's backs, things like that, if any of that comes out in the interview process, you're super arrogant and probably not receptive and not able to receive constructive criticism and redirect and grow from that experience, they're going to figure that out. The good companies are going to figure that out. Companies that are terrible know they can't attract awesome people, because awesome people go for awesome environments, and so they grab the next tier down, all right, and you end up being surrounded in a position like that, and it's not great. Now, even in a bad environment, like I said, they're good people, and it's good to form those relationships. But I say that, it's a little tongue in cheek there, but I hope that's encouraging, right? Like, you don't have to be a technical superstar. You don't have to be able to walk in and design a class that does whatever, right, on the whiteboard. You need to present yourself as teachable and like a decent person to work with. And those are the 2 key factors. I'm certain all 3 of the jobs that I've gotten, it's because I presented those 2 things that I was offered positions, and they're really doable. I'm not sure today. In which case, you better be really good at whiteboard problems, because that's the only way around it. So that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for letting me just fire hydrant all of that out. I hope there was something reasonably valuable. Yes.
So I look at you brought up your first job, you asked questions, or you didn't ask questions, you wanted a job, and you realized, I need to do that.
Yeah.
From your experience, what are some 1 or 2 questions that you feel are really helpful in you determining whether this is a place you want to be?
So by the time I was aware enough that I needed to ask questions like that, I realized one of the things I was looking for was some understanding of the value. Like, mid-management gets a lot of bad press and at the office and whatnot, but like a little bit of intentionality in terms of building teams and providing direction, guidance, things of that nature, that's important to me. So first of all, I go back to know you, be you, figure out what's important to you, and then ask questions that answer the things that are important to you. For me, I wanted to know that there was some understanding of the value of minimal intentional management. And so I asked questions along the lines of, what do you see the role of management playing in the office? And ask questions about red tape and things of that nature. I also, if you get an opportunity to talk to members of the development team, not just like hiring managers, which of course you probably will, asking them what their favorite parts, what are their favorite elements about working for this company, asking them a little bit about their history, what brought them to that company, what kinds of things did they work on before, what kinds of things are you working on now that are really exciting, and of course, the research element into what the company that you're interviewing with does, and showing some interest in that product, but also some interest in finding out more about that product. What kinds of things are they currently trying to solve? Like what are the anticipated upcoming features, things like that. I just had another piece, but it's slipped my mind. So yeah, along those lines. But I think knowing who you are and what you're looking for, which will come, as you progress in your career, and then teasing those things out in the interview. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, what current technology stack or whatever are you working with?
I am I'm .NET and JavaScript, so I do a lot of SQL back-end work. We are using a microservices architecture, so I have my hands on a bunch of C# microservices. We've got our own deployment platform that we developed in-house, so it's kind of a specific tool, but it's .NET developed as well. Actually, .NET Core, so cross-platform. And then we have a bunch of, you guys familiar with microservices and kind of the basic idea there? So microservices is an architectural framework where you write a standalone program exposed through a web API that does a very small number of things, all very closely related to one another. So for example, the Quote Center, the website that we make, you do a search for a product and you get a list of things available in Home Depot. In order to do that, we need to take search terms, hit our NoSQL database to get product IDs that might match what they're looking for. Then we need to get the product information about those products. Right now, all we have are the IDs. Okay, so we have the IDs. We need the product information. We need to know what we call the offering information, which is the specific prices available from which vendors that they are available from, because we're actually we started out as a special ordering platform. As well as special discounting information about from the vendors those are coming from, delivery information, which is another set of pieces. So rather than being like, hey, I need the product information, I need everything for product ID 1, 2, 3, and having one system churn through all the SQL and hit the database and generate this huge wad of info and then shove it back at the client, we make 15 different microservices calls. So I need product information from the product microservice. I need the discounting information for the discounting microservice. I need the offering information from the offering microservice, and so on. Each one of those things just handles one small piece of the puzzle. And those, by doing it that way, you're able to scale more effectively, because all you need to do is spin up more instances of those microservices, and it can handle increased traffic on demand. I forget what your original question was. Did I answer it? Okay. So and then because with that, the client, the website itself is written in React, which is a JavaScript framework developed by Facebook. So we have a React front end. We have a Node JS API gateway. So the client talks to the API gateway, and it's the gateway that actually hits all the microservices, aggregates all that data, and pushes that to the client. Yeah.
Could you elaborate a little bit on how much you do what kind of projects?
Yeah. Well, so my GitHub account, which is where I kind of stored everything, has gotten and is mainly Tech Academy projects that I built. And a handful of different, so I've got there's a game from the late 90s that I used to play on like Mac OS 8, I think, and I've always wanted it on iOS. And so I have made a run at developing it for iOS several times. So, in Objective-C, in Swift, I'm actually now making huge gains with React Native, which is, again, Facebook, that you code in JavaScript, and it compiles into native Objective-C Swift code and into Java for Android, so you're able to deploy to platforms, and you're just writing in JavaScript, which is really cool. And it's, to me, I don't know if I'm too dumb to get into Objective-C or what, but like I've tried a bunch and never really cracked it. This has worked for me. So for me, it's a passion project, and I will say it's not been my personal portfolio that's really gotten me work. I believe it's a good idea, and if there's something you believe in and you want to see, if you have a real clear vision about the kind of work you want to be doing, then go and make small versions of those kinds of pieces. That's a huge part of it too. Exactly. It's showing that you're active and taking an interest in this outside of your just 9 to 5. Yeah.
I like asking these people who have job values, what is the average day look like? So any given day in the week, at a very high level, what is it that you find yourself doing the most? Are you writing your own custom code? Are you debugging other people's code? Any of the other various sundry things you might be doing as a developer, what is it that you find yourself doing?
Particularly they call me a developer one, but I think it's still fairly junior. And as a junior, I tend more to, I'm not designing a lot of new features, right? I'm getting into and editing code that already exists, either fixing a bug that's come in through support, or enhancing it slightly, and then running that by the seniors for input and refactoring it and whatnot. It's really day to day, fairly broad. Particularly, here's one eye-opening thing for me. It stands to reason, right? But all the companies that I have worked for, we're all making a product that has customers, and some form of a web server is providing a lot of information for those customers all the time, and things break either because of bugs in the code or infrastructure problems. Like, there's a lot of things that can go wrong, and the developers tend to, if they're not structured to have like a triage unit to handle infrastructure problems and whatnot, it tends to come to the developer. So we sort of have that at Quote Center, but a lot of what I do is, hey, this person in this store is getting this error, or the site's not loading at all, what's going on, or everything's slowing down. Let's get on our new relic site, see what calls are being problematic, figure out why they're being problematic, and identify if there even is a bug that we need to address, create a ticket for, and maybe I'll work on that later. But a lot, I would say half of any given, 30% of any given day is sort of just responding to the needs of the company, throughout the day, whatever they would be, mostly having to do with infrastructure and performance. In terms of writing code, it's like I said, right now it's primarily, I'm really thankful to have the structure where they tease out large jobs into specific tasks. We weight them with how long we think it's going to take. I'm given a certain amount of weight to accomplish in a given sprint, either a week or 2 weeks. And then I work on those pretty well lined out tasks, where they've been described by the whole team, by the seniors and leads. So I'm trying to think of any more insight to give there, but like there's never a day where I don't write at least a little JavaScript or C#. That's happening every day. I get in and do a lot of investigation using SQL. It might not be writing a sort of procedure or messing with the data, but I do a lot of investigation into problems by delving into the databases and figuring out what's going on. Something's broken. So right now, I'm kind of all over the map, which I like, being valuable in multiple facets and not just, hey, write C#. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Yeah, 30 to 50% of the time. That's I'm part of what keeps the gears going, and so I have an opportunity to lay groundwork for future work and make things better and make new things. But I have to do that while keeping the lights on, and that takes some of my time and resources as well. And that's been true at all 3 companies that I've worked at.
How far through the technical program would you say that you started to get what kind of were you
It's after PHP. Java, I love playing with JavaScript, and I really like C#. Just tools that we have. Yeah. I confirmed it. I had written, little bits of stuff before, and I like logic puzzles and things of that nature. So I knew that generally that the activity appealed to me. But when I was still doing Bob Tabor, it was part of the C#. When we were working with Bob Tabor, like that was a lot of fun. Solving some of those problems and taking them off in new directions. That's another one of those things where there'd be a time for the C# class and be like, oh, but I want to see, it was a card game, but it read completely in text, right? Like it was like, you got king 3. I wanted to actually see graphical representations of those things. So I extended the assignment, made it my own, and that becomes a piece of my portfolio that we were talking about earlier. Not that you're saying this, but if you get deep and this is not the thing, decide if it's a thing that you could do for a while, like search for the other thing, and if it's not, man, like go back to that drawing board. Like there are other things too, and so I don't mean to say that as discouragement. I just know I can get into a headspace where like I hitch my wagon. Oh my God, we're going over a cliff. And I don't think that that's likely to be the case here. But like certain things work for different people, and don't be afraid to pivot, even if it means pivoting off the court entirely and getting on a motorcycle. That makes metaphor. But also, push through it too, because you might find that hook that you really enjoy and figure out how to make this thing work for you. Because there is, in terms of purely practical end of things, there's a lot of work out. There's a lot of job stability for good folks. Yes, sir.
You talked about during your first 2 jobs, you had a lot of questions.
Sure.
What were some of the things that helped you kind of navigate that? Because you're under duress of learning new things.
Mm-hmm.
You're a brand new developer, and you're trying to learn personality stuff. What were some of the things that some of your strategies that you used that stress interaction? Because that's like an important part of it.
Yeah. This is one of those things where I think being 40 years old is helpful. You live more life, you know how to manage situations politically. And I don't know that I have like specific, I haven't thought about it in terms of specific tactics for that kind of thing. I think that trying to find a way of appreciating and respecting, especially the people who are a problem for you, is a good baseline to come from. And say, I can appreciate where you are, and you're looking to kind of, manage them, do a little mystical kung fu and get them to realize how maybe they're causing problems or whatever, but without, of course, pride's a huge hot button issue. If you come in and be like, you're being a jerk, that's not going to solve anything at all. But if you come in with empathy and develop a relationship and then try to gently guide people in the direction that you think would be a little bit healthier, that's also why it's really helpful to have some kind of intentional management going on, because then you have somebody whose job it is to figure out how to have those conversations and bring the team together, right? And so the first position I was in was difficult. Granted, it was a small team, so there were few problems because there were few people, but it was rough because there was no way. There was a manager in name, but not in practice. I went to him and I said, hey, this is a little bit of a struggle. And basically he was just like, yeah, we're not going to talk about that. And I thought, okay. This is why we're going to be out of business in 6 months. And we were. So, yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure. Anything else? We good? It's 2:06. Yes, sir.
It's kind of off topic, but what kind of lighting setup did you use in the portrait?
That would have been, I'm pretty sure I was using one 400 watt. I may have just used a single, I would have used one key with an octabox and let's see. Yeah, so that's a single large soft source here, and then I've got a bare strobe behind me popping the background, and then a lot of background cleanup with Photoshop. Yeah. I saw a photo too. Yeah. So, let's go all the way back to here. I appreciate it. I know this is a little bit rough. I hope there was some value in there. And if you have the time or inclination, man, wouldn't think it'd be technologically, I don't even know. Did you get my email address? Shoot me an email. Like, if you have any questions or want to chat, whatever, shoot me an email. But if you have a couple minutes and you're like, hey, you know what? These were the pieces of the talk that I was really interested in. I wish you would have gone deeper there. We didn't need all this other stuff. This is something I'd like to refine. I'd like to get better at. I'd like to provide value. And so if you can offer any feedback in that realm, I'd much appreciate it. Okay?
Awesome, Dan.
Yeah.
It was great.
Thanks for having me, guys. I would love to stay and chat, but I actually told my cohorts that I would be back. So I'm gonna take them. Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
that was great. I appreciate the emotion in that, because I was like, I've been there. I'm like, yes,
Right.
and
Right.
like figure it out. So
It'll happen. You know what I mean? Yeah. Stick it out. If you
like-
enjoy the work, it'll definitely
I'm at
happen.
that like interview stage,
Yeah.
maybe about to get a job. And
Yeah.
That's what I really liked about your talk. Was like, oh,
Yeah.
I got it. Just like that's what it feels like. Where it's like one day they're just gonna call me and it's gonna be like, I have a job.
Yeah. It will. Yep.
So it's good to hear that
Yep.
from somebody who's gone
Yeah.
through it already. Because right now it's like at that terrible stage, the second before that.
Right. Are you? And have you gone for some in-person interviews?
Yeah. Well.